listener. Welcome to Entrepreneurs After Hours. We're going to be interviewing Sausha Davis. Sausha Davis is the founder of Sales Mama School, a powerhouse coaching and sales strategy brand for ambitious entrepreneurs balancing business growth and family life. With over a decade of experience in sales and consulting, she's passionate about helping entrepreneurs scale their businesses to multi-six figures without burning out or losing what matters most. Known for her bold, no-nonsense approach, Sausha blends tactical sales strategy, mindset, and leadership development, teaching business owners how to close with confidence while creating more freedom at home and in their work. Good morning, Sausha. How are you doing today?
Welcome to the
Hello.
show.
Thanks for having me. I'm doing good today. How about you guys?
That's good to hear. I think you're doing good, yeah?
Yeah, it's a good day.
Yes. Today my kiddos just went back to school, so today I have a quiet house. I feel like I can finally focus again, and I'm excited to be here. So thanks for having me.
We're excited to
Yes.
have you, Sausha.
Yes, it's going to be such an exciting day with our pilot episode.
Thank you for joining the show.
Yeah. Today we're really going to talk about a few things, and we're going to start with your journey in business. Like, where did you start? How did you get here?
Well, if I take us back to somewhat of the beginning, let's say 2017 ish. I was in corporate management, corporate sales, corporate marketing. I've kind of always been in sales, marketing, management, helping run larger companies, larger businesses. But then I started my own family, and it just really did not resonate anymore, right? So I went back to work and I just was not happy. I had that corner office, I had all the things, but at what cost? So I was still going to work 14, 16-hour days, and I just couldn't do it anymore. Just could not do it anymore. So somebody had put this idea in my head that, well, why don't you go off on your own and start your own, coaching and consulting? And at that time, it wasn't, like 10 years ago, coaching was not what it is today, And so I didn't really think much of it, but then I had people start to reach out to me. Hey, can you help me with this? Hey, can you help me with that? And so it just kind of blossomed from there. But I did originally want to start out as, more of a general life and business type of coach. So I tried to do some of these blended life and business programs, but people just kept coming back around with the business stuff, with the sales stuff. Like, how do I grow my business? How do I, have that work-life balance? And so it just really took off from there to, what you end up seeing today as sales mama. So
I love that so much.
Awesome. That's a cool journey.
yeah.
What were the early days like when you launched your own business?
Oh man, they were a struggle. They were a hot mess. I didn't really know what I was doing. And at that time, I did end up hiring a mentor. I hired this woman from Canada, believe it or not. Again, like coaching wasn't what it was today. So when I had told my husband, hey, I'm going to hire this mentor from Canada, he's like, you're going to hire some woman off the internet, give her, I think at that time it was like $6,000 or $8,000. You're going to give this woman this much money from Canada. You've never even met her, and blah, 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 blah. And, but I just trusted my gut. I was like, this person I really feel like is going to, help me get to that next level. And she definitely did. But it was, like throwing noodles at a wall to see kind of what stuck at that time, because there wasn't the social media presence that there was today. There wasn't really those, funnels that you see today. There really wasn't like the reels and the videos and, that online marketing presence that you see today. And so it was a lot of trial and error, and AI was not really a thing either. Whereas today you can just throw all of your ideas into ChatGPT and have it create almost anything for you, then you had to use a lot of your own brain power to create your business, to roll out your ideas. You had to do a lot of your own research, your own marketing, your own marketing calls, essentially, to see what's going to work, what's not going to work. And so there was a lot of just boots on the ground, figuring out, hey, if I create this thing, would you actually want this thing? So I talked to hundreds of people, I would say. I was doing live videos, I was doing in-person events, I was collaborating with just about anybody I could collaborate with just to get my name out there, get exposure and try things just to see what would work. And I just would fail forward, I would say. I embarrassed myself a lot. But I didn't let it stop me, So it was, just figuring out what would work. And then once I kind of got in the groove of like, okay, this worked, let's double down on that thing. So that's kind of what the early days was.
I like that. In business, one of the things I've noticed just makes sense to have as many lines in the water as possible. And eventually one of those lines is going to bite, and that's when you reel in.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
We've read our stuff. That's awesome, though. Mentors are huge. I think majority of extremely successful business people I've met, one of the recurring themes is they've had really good mentors. They've talked about how they go pay somebody whenever they have a skill that they need to learn or need to make to the next level of the skill. Fly out, sometimes spend over $10,000 in a day to get somebody that really knows what they're talking about to teach them and tell them exactly what to do next.
Yeah. And I've done that before too, because if you think about it, that person, that skill, that whatever it is that you're trying to learn, they have spent, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years learning and perfecting and being an expert in that field or that skill, right? And so you are paying them to give you that knowledge, that education, that experience, that blueprint, essentially, in a condensed, shortened amount of time without all of that trial and error. So, yes, I could learn it on my own in 5 or 10 years, but if I want to get somewhere farther faster, I have learned that, hey, I can go find somebody who's already done all of the hard work and the trial and error, and I can learn it in a weekend or a month or 6 months and not have to go through all of the ups and downs. There might still be some, right? Because not everything is going to be a linear path, but I can still fast track my success by taking somebody else's blueprint and modifying it to fit what I feel like would work best within my business. So I'm all for mentors now. In the beginning, it was kind of like, should I do this? But now I'm like, I got someone for social media. I got someone for my life. I got someone for, so I'm all about having mentors to fill certain areas of your life and business. If you have a goal, you should absolutely have someone there to push you and hold you accountable, and somebody who's been there, done that, to help you when stuff arises, because you're going to have obstacles. And so you need to have somebody there that's going to help get you over those obstacles too.
So, Sausha, how do you think that the value of mentors is going to change now that we've got ChatGPT? You can ask it, like you mentioned earlier, you can ask it pretty much any question and it'll pull from virtually every resource there is available to it. And it's going to give you so much information. It can give you pretty much everything that you can find off YouTube. It's like its own expert in everything, at least it thinks it is. How do you think that's going to impact the value of mentors going forward?
I think it's already changing. I think we can already tell a difference. And so I think anybody who doesn't have years of experience is going to struggle. And so this is where I think you really need to double down on an area of expertise, and definitely double down on that high level, high touch. I think like a lot of subscription memberships are going to struggle. I think some of these like lower ticket memberships are going to struggle, where it's like, oh, come in my community and you can just ask questions type of thing. Like if you don't have anything other than that to keep people engaged, where it's just knowledge and education, people are really going to struggle, right? So you're going to have to think of ways outside of the box other than just knowledge and education that is going to make you different. What human what human abilities can you start to put into your package, your service? What high end techniques can you start to apply? Maybe it's like personalized reviews. Maybe it's you start to do, I don't know, gift boxes or something. Maybe you do retreats. Maybe you do experiential type of stuff. But you have to have some type of personalized approach or human touch, human experience, something along those lines to be standing out. So I do think that there is going to be some of like those group programs that might struggle. There's going to be some of those memberships that might struggle. And I think we're already seeing it, right? Like there's a reduced appearance within the coaching industry, right? I've worked with many people within this capacity and they're like, hey, I'm seeing a reduced amount in these numbers. Well, yeah, most people can just go pop it into ChatGPT and get their answer. So how are you different? How are you actually going to personalize this approach and be there for them and guide them? And so there's also this emotional intelligence factor that I think ChatGPT doesn't have, right? So how do we bring that into our coaching as well, right?
I love that so much. I like what you said with like the human touch. I think with everything becoming so artificial and that being the new normal, people are
Mm-hmm.
going to have to start using more tangible things like gift baskets or
Yes.
retreats where you actually see a person, talk to a person, and get something, whether it's like a handshake or a card. People are going to
Yep.
need to start seeing more personal touches like that that are very tangible and human.
Yeah.
I
So
feel
like,
like,
oh, go ahead.
sorry for interrupting you, Sasha. I feel like going forward throughout the business scape, we're going to start going back in time almost, especially
Yeah.
stuff like outreach, the way historically we've done things. Our businesses, all of our customers, we send handwritten thank you cards to. That's one way to show them that we're not just some robot somewhere taking their calls. Stuff like that, I feel like going forward is probably a lot of what's going to differentiate people from AI. It's getting to be
Mhm.
pretty silly too. On LinkedIn, you actually have to say this was not AI. Otherwise, everybody thinks you're an AI. I send a LinkedIn message. I preface it by saying I actually wrote this. I didn't have ChatGPT do it for me.
I'm not a bot, guys.
I do
That's
that
like
when,
what everything is.
yeah, exactly. So like on my CRM, like we can text and call from one of the CRMs that I use. And so when we're actually sending personalized messages, it's like, PS, this is a real person. Like this is actually me. And so we have to say those things because otherwise people are like automatically stop, do not, but when we say things like, hey, this is actually me, or this is actually a real person, they're like, oh, haha, okay. And then we get increased replies because of that. And it is actually us, right? We would never put that on something that was an automated response, right? But to your point, you were absolutely right that we are going kind of quote unquote back in time, because what is actually working in sales right now is the high touch, is the personal outreach, is the personalized videos. Even for like my clients, when we do onboarding, I send them a bouquet of flowers, I send them a gift basket, I send them a handwritten note 30 days after, right? I send them something once they graduate the program. I offer retreats for people after they are done so that they have like this big shebang after, so there's like these things that are these really experiential parts of the process. And I've had people come back and work with me and say, you're the only person I have ever worked with that has sent me flowers, right? And that is something that has stood out to them as, not only like that emotional factor, but that human factor. And that has stuck with them, right? And they're like, Sausha actually care. And I do actually care, right? Like I give them a handwritten note. I call like a local florist. Like we do all of these things to make sure that they feel seen, they feel heard. And like ChatGPT is not going to do that, right? So what can you do? And I know that's not in everybody's budget to do, but you can start to, provide those things or put those things in your profitability so that you can afford those things. And it really is not that much. It's like $100 to send a really fancy bouquet, but start to factor those things in. And that makes a huge difference for your clients, right? That's something that will stick with them for a really long time. So, not everybody wants a bouquet of flowers, but what's something that, your clients would absolutely love and remember and cherish and come back and be like, I'm coming back to you because you did this thing for me, right? And so those things are going to be so crucial going forward in this service-based industry, regardless if you're coaching or consulting or, whatever type of service you provide. Those things that I would consider calling, what I would call rolling out the red carpet, those types of experiences are what's really going to set you apart from the people who are just doing the bare minimum, using all of the automations, all of the ChatGPT responses, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. And not that I'm not for simplifying your business and automations, but with that time that you're saving, how are you going to roll out that red carpet?
Yeah, for 100%, for sure. That's the way I feel like things are going. I think too, people are willing to pay extra for an experience.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. People say people don't have money right now, and I think people will pay for things that they value, right? It comes down to the value. And I think people are overpaying for things that are, like you said, just the knowledge, just the education. They can go pay ChatGPT $20 a month to answer all their questions. Why would they pay you $10,000 for the same thing, right? What makes you different? And so you have to start thinking about those things. How can you provide that value and experience that would give somebody $10,000 worth of value, or 5 or 15, or, whatever your price point is? Think about those things.
And those little things really help upsell people too. If everybody always has the same perks, if you spend $100 buying that bouquet, if that's something everybody sees, that becomes something that shows up in social media, that's something that becomes part of your branding. That's a reason people are willing to pay that extra $100. Gives them perceived value. It's not just,
Mhm.
oh, I could buy a bouquet for $20. I'll go to a competitor and save $80.
Yeah.
They're willing to pay significantly more so that they can have the experience. Why do people go to the Ritz? It's much nicer. It costs twice what the Marriott costs. They're owned by the
Mhm.
same people, but
Yep.
the Ritz is just that much better, and it doubles the value.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all about the perceived value. You're right. And as you start to build your brand, you can also start to have your own brand packages, right? Think about ClickFunnels and how they have like their 2 comma club, right? So you join ClickFunnels, and after you've been in ClickFunnels for a while, if you're able to get to the point where you're in their 2 comma club, you get these awards, you get recognized. And so how can you start to have those milestones or incentives when you're starting to work with people too, so that they have something to strive for as well? That can also have that perceived value and those incentives to help your clients get to a certain point, so that you can then celebrate them, even publicly. So you can think about things like that as well, and then people will want to work with you based on that, because then they can get more publicity, more visibility. They have those bragging rights. Think about things like that as well.
Yeah, everybody wants to feel important. That's one of the core values that most people really want to have in their life. I don't know if
Yeah.
you've read the book How to Win Friends and Influence People by
Oh
Dale
yes.
Carnegie.
I've read a lot of those books.
Well, that's one of
Yes.
the core topics in the book. It's all
Mhm.
about how you make people feel important. Like for
Yes.
you,
Yep.
sending out some flowers, that makes people feel like $1,000. That's a huge
Exactly.
experience that just puts a smile on somebody's face. Getting a handwritten note from somebody you respect and look up to, that's
Mhm.
massive.
Yeah.
Like people are going out to you to have you coach them because they really respect the information you've got, and they're paying so much for your time because they know your skills and the knowledge you have is in such high demand. Getting a
Yeah.
handwritten note, I imagine that brightens up their whole day, and every incentive past that, that's also adding so much more value to them than it's going to cost.
Yeah.
I know there have been some really cool entrepreneurs I've met, and for me, any opportunity to chat with them has been huge. I've almost ended up spending way too much money buying into their programs because they're just cool people that I like talking to.
Yep.
And because they were willing to invite me, I'm like, wow, they're willing to invite me. Okay, I'll pay. I've hired consultants off that before just
Hmm.
because I thought they were a cool person. I was excited they were willing to let me before even thinking about if it's actually providing me the value that I'm spending.
Yeah.
It's really, experiences are huge.
Yeah, and that sometimes that's what you do is you will invest in somebody's program or their products or their services to get access to them and their circle, right? And so this is what I would call incremental upgrades to your life, right? So you're most like the 5 people that you surround yourself with, or however the saying goes, right? So if you look around and you're like, these people aren't really doing it for me anymore. It's time for me to up level who I'm hanging out with. You go find somebody who you want to be a part of their circle. And sometimes you invest in those programs, in those mentors, so that you can get access to them and their people as part of your life plan, your business plan, so that you can start being around those people and you absorb, their energy. It's kind of like osmosis, right? Like when you're around those people, you start to hear those conversations, you start to have those conversations, you start to see what questions they're asking, you start to ask those types of questions. And before you know it, like you start to do those things, right? It's just like if you were around 5 people that exercise or that are CrossFit, like you're probably going to end up CrossFit. If you're around 5 people that go to the bar every Friday night, you're probably going to go to the bar on Friday night, right? So choose your people wisely. And so I've done that before where it's like, I want to be over there. Like, how do I get over there? And if you can't do it by, being an acquaintance of sort or a referral of sort, sometimes you just got to pay for access. And then that gives you access to a whole bunch of other things. So I feel you though. I've done things like that before.
Yeah, like access to people and even perceived access.
Yep.
Like, do you know Alex Hermosi?
Oh yes. Yeah. I
Yeah,
actually went to his book launch just recently.
virtual event.
Yep.
Yeah, we were on that too. Just the perceived access of being able to be in virtual trainings with him got so many people to buy 200 books.
Oh, I know it. I just love
200
watching
books.
his stuff. Like my sales and marketing brain is like, oh, he's doing this and he's doing this. And why is he doing this? So it's funny because even when he was doing like his markdown pricing, I'm like, he's going to give all of it away for free. Like, because he's like, this is this much money and we're going to cut it down to this. And then we're going to cut it down to this. I'm like, he's just going to give it all away for free. And
I
then
love,
he did, for the one thing. And then he goes into the book stuff and I love dissecting what he's doing. But I love following him and Layla. So they are very much an inspiration. So
I think his real two goals with the book launch, that the 200 books, let's break the record and sell 3.6 million books in 24 hours. I
yeah,
did the math on that. And that was over 100 million in revenue right there.
yeah,
And then also the free stuff he was giving away, the thing he snuck in there is a school free trial. His
hmm,
goal is to get you to use school. I
yep,
love watching him because the thing is, you're watching people like that, you're picking apart how they're selling and how they're structuring their deals, the pitch they're offering, the upsell or the downsell.
hmm,
And I'm like, that's really smart. I, now that you understand the inside, it's a lot easier to avoid being sold on things.
hmm,
But at the same time, when you're watching stuff like that, it's like I love watching it because it's just a good example of what I could do with something else.
hmm.
There's a little while ago a really cool group. They're called the Taxling Cut. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they were paying for a whole bunch of ads on social media and other places to get people to come to free master classes. They'd rent out the
Okay.
bar room in a hotel. They gave you a master class on tax liens, which was really a 2-ish hour long sales pitch
Yep.
where they wanted to sell you $1,000 course plus a $40 a month subscription to use their software. But to use the
Mm.
software that they're selling you on, you have to do their course that costs you $1,000. And Like we actually ended up signing up for it, and then 3 days later realizing, wait, this actually doesn't make any sense for us. Fortunately, we were able to get our money back.
Well, that's good.
Sales tactics like that are really fun. I like when people come up with creative ways to sell a product.
Yep.
There's so many people that are very obviously selling you a product anymore. Alex Hermosi was selling you on all the benefits, but giving you the books so that you can write it off on your taxes and help other people out. The way
Yeah.
he told the story made the entire difference.
Oh yeah, he's kind of a genius when it comes to, when it comes to that type of stuff where it's like, hey, buy these things, use it as a donation, use it as a tax write-off, right? But he's still meeting his goals, his objectives, and still essentially helping multiple entrepreneurs, because then what are they going to do? They're not going to sit with 200 books. You know what I mean? They're going to give them away to people. So, I mean, it makes sense to do it that way. And then even like with the free trial, or the $9 or whatever it was, it's like, hey, sign up. It costs you nothing to do it today. And how many people are going to forget to cancel that trial and just end up keeping it because it's only $9, right? So typically when like you think of psychology or the psychology of sales, things that are under $10, things that are under $20, typically it's an inconvenience to end up canceling them. So your brain is like, well, I might as well just keep it because I'll use it eventually type of thing, right? This is what Planet Fitness does and why they have so many people that continue to keep their memberships, even though they may never show up. They have so many people that have memberships that maybe only step foot in there once or twice a year, right? So it's that same philosophy that you get this $9 offer in front of hundreds of thousands of people with the intent that everybody signs up or a large majority of people sign up, right? A fraction of them end up using it and making a lot of money off of it. And there's another fraction of them that have the intention of using it, but maybe never use it, but you still collect those monthly subscriptions off of it, right? And you may do that for a year, 3 years, 5 years. How much money are they getting just based off of that, right? It's a model that's been used time and time again, and he just did it, live on the book launch. And I mean, it's a proven model, and just for him to like throw it out there like that, it's like, oh, this is genius, So, but it is kind of a sales psychology, right? So, it was a good selling technique.
Oh yeah, that was just such a great event. I
Yeah.
was watching the first couple hours live, and then I stuck an earbud in and went on a bike ride because I had something else I had to do with my fitness, and was able to listen to a little bit more of it. It was just so great to listen to, and it was really cool how we continued more of it into the next day too.
Mm-hmm.
There's a
Yeah.
reason he sold so many books. He's getting people to spend $6,000 to buy 200. I was so tempted to do that. It's like $6,000. I get 200 bucks. I deduct it from my taxes.
There you go.
Perfect.
Yep. With all of his encore ones. So, yeah.
I love people like that. And then we were talking a little bit ago too about perceived access. Do you know who the are?
I do not. No.
Have you heard of them? They're really popular on YouTube and stuff. But the interesting thing, at least they claim to be billionaires, but their whole business is built off of selling courses for I think it's $50 a month. They sell to millions of people access to their community. And then their step up that sort of gives you access to them from what I've heard. I haven't joined or anything because I'm not going to pay them $8,000 a year. But for $8,000 a year, you sort of get access to them. But from online reviews, it sounds like you don't really get all that much, but they're making millions and millions and millions because they built this huge online brand. It's not like necessarily like they're great people, but they're great at sales and they're great at getting people to spend money to sort of be like them. They spend all their money buying supercars and stuff. They create this huge image that's unattainable for everybody, but people are basically buying hope from them for $50 a month.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of people that fall for that type of stuff. And, what I have found is, I've also been, doing consulting for, 7-figure businesses, 8-figure businesses, and like leading teams and training teams and stuff like that. I'm not going to expose anybody, but what I have learned from being in those teams is sometimes they are not as profitable or as successful as they seem or perceive to be. And so even for, I mean, I don't know these guys from Timbuktu. I'll have to look them up after this, but this is just my 2 cents on like the highlight reel on social media, on YouTube, on wherever you're seeing this stuff. Because what I have seen is people will rent, they'll rent clothes, they'll rent houses, they'll rent cars simply for social media, right? Because they can rent things for a fraction of the price to have this image, right? To perceive themselves as these millionaires or billionaires or whatever. But in all reality, they are hardly scraping by because their profitability is so low. Yes, they may be making, $1 million, multiple 7 figures, whatever a year, right? But because they spend so much money on ads or teams or all of this stuff to get them to that level, they may be only taking home 50,000, 100,000. Like they're just not making that much money. So in all reality, you could actually be more successful, quote unquote successful, having a smaller team showing up as authentically you and making multiple 6 figures and having, a 50 or 60% profitability versus having this big flashy whatever and trying to be somebody that you're not, right? And so I just want, as you say this, I don't know these people. That could be their entire story and it's completely 100% accurate, right? But what I have seen from being in some of these businesses is that it's not always what it seems to be. So what they want you to see is what they want you to see. But when you peel back the curtains, sometimes it is a total hot mess behind there. And they're not really all together. They're not really making that much money, and they're barely scraping by, and their mental health is shot. Their physical health is shot. You know what I mean? So, just for anybody that's listening, just be mindful of those things as you're, growing your own business. Like, what is your version of success, right?
I'm sure tons of people are falling into that trap. I heard you mention renting clothes. That had been like, people rent clothes
All the time. Rent the runway. There's like tons of them. You can rent tuxes. You can rent like these jumpsuits. You can rent fancy dresses. You can rent fancy shoes. You can rent fancy bags, Gucci bags. I mean, all kinds of things. I am not kidding you. You can, anything that is like over $100 price tag, you can rent it because people cannot afford to do those things. Or what they'll do, and there's even blogs and videos on this where there's these people that will go out there, they will purchase these things, keep the tags on them, hide away the tags or whatever, and then go and return them the next day. So they'll do these like try on hauls, for their videos, for their blogs, whatever, their vlogs. They'll do these try on hauls, make it seem like they went and spent, $5,000 on all these outfits because they're making all this money, blah, 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 blah. And they'll go and return all of this stuff the next day because they actually don't have the money. So I've seen it firsthand, and it's like, ugh, it's so fake. So just, take everything with a grain of salt. And if it seems too good to be true, it probably is.
It's so unfortunate that so many people portray such a fake image to the world.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's kind of sad. I'm sure there's some people out there who are very authentic.
Oh yeah,
actually are at the level that they say they're at, and they're trying to sell you something with tons of value.
Mm-hmm.
Alex Hormozi, to get people to trust him, he has to provide so much value at such a low cost versus, I'm sure he could get a whole lot more and get more reach with his message if people didn't think, oh, he's fake because everybody else is fake.
Yeah.
There's so many people that are so fake. It's just sad. But
Yeah, I think it's just important to trust your gut on those things. And I think, as long as you're following along with people, and you're honest with yourself, and that's the most important thing. And I think that's why that personal touch is so important too. Like, have a conversation with people. You'll know right off the bat with somebody's energy and how they speak to you and, their tone of voice and the words that they use. Like, you'll know if somebody's, BSing you right away or not, So that's why I think it's important to have these conversations, this human touch, that type of stuff within the sales and marketing experience, because you'll know right away whether it's legit or not, whether it's actual value or not. So, yeah. And I think there's a lot of people out there who are really authentic, but then there's the ones that it's like, that might be too good to be true. Yeah, it might be, but just dig into it a little bit deeper. Don't take everything for surface level, just use your own discernment and do a little bit of research. So.
Love that.
How have you approached growing your business?
Oh, which side of it? Which part? All of it. So for me, myself, I really got into ads this last couple of years. Prior to that, though, I did a lot of networking, a lot of referrals, and a lot of social media. So I was doing, like live videos. I was doing podcast guesting or guest on different podcasts, different blogs. Doing some summits here and there. I was guest coaching in other people's, masterminds and programs. So that's kind of what I did in the beginning. But then this last few years, I started to dabble in some Meta ads, some Facebook ads. And I've actually had a lot of success with that in the last couple of years. So, I'm still doing, all of the other things in addition to it. But I started to dabble in some Facebook ads, and I've really enjoyed doing those. And so, I have these funnels where I have, different freebies, different opt-ins, maybe some live training, stuff like that. People opt in for those. They come into my world, come into my realm. And, we nurture them from there. And then the process is they would either talk to me or somebody on my team, like a setter or a closer, and then, see if they are a good fit for one of my programs or consulting. And, if they are, matching them to a product or service. And if not, just redirecting them to a freebie or the podcast, something along those lines. But we do like to have a personal touch with anybody that comes into, my world, essentially. So, but that's really what's been working for me, I would say, this last couple of years. But I started to hire and grow a team, I would say, within that first year of business. Like, I hired my first virtual assistant and then just kind of consistently added to the team every year. After that, now I have like a team of 10. It's not like a huge team, but still kind of steadily growing, which is nice. So everybody has their little thing that they help with. And it's been good.
That's awesome. Do you have a question, Maleah? You seem to be pointing something out for me.
Oh, well, my only main thought after that really is, what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned going through this whole process and dibbling and dabbling a little bit of everything with 10 years of experience? What would you say your biggest lessons learned from that are?
The biggest lesson I would say that I have learned is to not take advice from anybody who has not been where you want to go. There are so many people out there, in my personal experience, that had opinions on what I was doing and where I wanted to go. I'm the first in my family to do a lot of things. First to graduate high school, first to graduate college, first to get married, first to buy a house, first to do all the things, right? And so as I was doing that, it triggered a lot of people in my family, right? They weren't necessarily happy for me. So it was a huge bumpy road. I had almost no support from friends and family as I was, growing my business, right? So it was really tough, when you don't have people surrounding you that are like, let's do this, go, you can do it, right? And so I would ask people, oh, do you think this is okay? Or what do you think about this? And they all thought I was stupid. And what's the point? I think I'm better than everybody, so they are all just telling me all these really terrible things, trying to tear me down, and for a while there, I almost believed them, And so I came across this quote. I think it was Brene Brown, and she just basically said, don't take advice from anybody who's not in the arena with you or take advice from somebody who is where you want to be, right? And so that really just hit home for me. Like, why would I want to take advice from people who, aren't working or don't have a business or have no real ambitions in life? And this is nothing against anybody who is in that place. There's a place for everybody, right? But it's really important to find those people who are going to support you in hitting those goals, and making sure that you have the right mindset too, because there's so many ways that you can self-sabotage. Like, I'm not good enough, imposter syndrome, is this really working? There's already so many people that are doing this. Like, there's so many thoughts and beliefs that will come up that you will start to self-sabotage, right? And so being very mindful and aware of those things, I think, can also be a huge lesson in growing your business. Have the systems, have the strategy, but also have a growth mindset and be aware when you are sabotaging your own success.
It's really interesting how so many people, when the other people around them start to succeed, it somehow makes people angry.
Yeah.
People succeed. It's really weird. It's
It
something
is.
I've noticed time and time again in my own life too. It's just so strange when you do something a level above what the people you're around do. They're like, you should come back down with us, not, wow, you're going to make it up here. Keep that up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the people that do encourage you to keep going up and up and up, those are, in my opinion, the people you really want to keep yourself around.
Absolutely. And fortunately, I have, quite a few of those people in my corner now, but for the first few years, I didn't. And it was just a lot of grit and determination. And blood, sweat, and tears kept me going. It was a lot of hard work. So
That is how it goes, honestly. That was like part of my experience going to college, honestly, because I was the first person to go to college. And so,
yeah.
had my lovely husband, then fiance, support me the whole way through.
That was wild.
But since I know we're running like 5 minutes left on time, to close it up, are there any super big projects that you're working on? I know you mentioned Sales Mama School and maybe some retreats and programs happening.
Yes. So I have the podcast. Anybody can find me over the podcast, Sales Mama Podcast. But I do have Sales Mama School. It is open enrollment. So people can head over there, salesmama.biz/school, and see, what it would be like working with me. And I do have my retreat that is open. I just announced that September 1st. So April 2026 will be my next retreat. It is April 16th through 19th. It is 4 days in Southern Oregon. It is all focused on business growth, personal growth, leadership. We do a 90-day plan, and I usually do some type of out of your comfort zone experiential type of stuff. So sometimes I'll do like archery experiences. We'll do horseback riding, a lot of those things that help build confidence and those leadership skills that then you can directly apply into your life and business. So people absolutely love the retreats. They're one of those things that it's like, oh, this is, once in a lifetime type of thing, even though people have come back, more than once. But they are a ton of fun, and I love hosting them.
How can someone sign up for your retreat?
I have them listed on my site, and I can also share the links with you guys as well. But if they go over to salesmama.biz, they'll see all of the available retreats. So in about a month, I'll be sharing the next one. I'll also host another one in October next year. So I usually host anywhere from 2 to 3 per year. So I for sure have one in April and October of next year, and I might do a 3-day pop-up one in June. So
that's really exciting.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun.
I've got one more question than she had. It's a question I like to ask to most entrepreneurs I meet. If you could give yourself, when you first started out, one piece of advice, what would you tell yourself when you were first starting out?
This probably has not a lot to do with business, but like the first thing that pops into my head is start investing, like investing right away, like portions of your business, meaning like set aside money for retirement, set aside money for your future self. I feel like I didn't do that right away, you know, because in traditional work, you have a retirement, you have all that stuff set up for you. I don't think I started to do that until like 3 years into my business. I would start doing that from day one, start setting aside 10, 15, 20%, you know, just start putting money, stashing money away. And I would say that I would care less about what other people think about what I was doing. So I guess that's two things.
Well, that's great advice. It is kind of sad how so many business owners, the only way they can retire is by selling their business or getting another job. So many people get themselves locked in where their business makes enough for them to live on, but not
Mm-hmm.
enough to pay for the rest of their future. So they either
Yeah.
work till they die or have to find a private equity firm to buy.
Yep.
But thanks so much for coming on our show. We really, really appreciate you. Thank you so much. We
Yes.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes,
This was a lot of fun.
Sasha.
Great meeting you, Sausha.
Yes. Thanks for having me.
Hey everyone, Maleah here. Just wanting to announce Mac's book release in November of his book that he's written, Adaptability: How I Went from Minimum Wage to CEO in 2 years. If you want to know a little bit more about our story, and also if you want to know a little bit about how to pivot, then you should definitely be looking forward to this book launch and release. See you guys next time.